Imagine being stripped of your identity, reduced to a number, and thrown into a simulated prison environment. Welcome to the Stanford Prison Experiment. This chilling study, conducted in 1971, was designed to explore the psychological impacts of perceived power. It sought to understand how ordinary individuals would react when placed in roles of prisoners and guards within a mock prison. But reality soon eclipsed simulation, and the experiment spiraled into a horrifying display of human nature. What happened next was beyond anyone's wildest expectations. In the summer of 1971, psychologist Philip Zimbardo transformed the basement of the Stanford University Psychology Building into a mock prison. This wasn't a decision taken lightly, but a carefully planned experiment to delve into the depths of human nature. Zimbardo sought to understand how ordinary people could transform under specific circumstances of authority and power. The method for this exploration was quite unique. First, he placed an advertisement in the local newspaper, seeking participants for a psychological study of prison life. Over 70 individuals responded, vying for a chance to be a part of this groundbreaking study. These were ordinary young men, devoid of any criminal background or psychological abnormalities. They were students, workers, sons and brothers. But for the purpose of the experiment, they were to become mere numbers, stripped of their individual identities. From this pool of 70, 24 were chosen. They were then randomly assigned to one of two roles, prisoners or guards. The prisoners were unexpectedly arrested at their homes, mirroring the sudden disruption of freedom that real-life arrests entail. They were then blindfolded, handcuffed, and brought to the mock prison, where they were stripped of their clothes, deloused, and given prison uniforms and ID numbers. The guards, on the other hand, were given khaki uniforms, reflective sunglasses, and batons, a symbol of their authority. They were instructed not to use physical violence, but were encouraged to create a sense of fear and a notion of arbitrariness to make the prisoners feel helpless. The Stanford basement was transformed into a pseudo-prison, complete with cells and solitary confinement. The line between reality and role-play quickly blurred as the participants slipped into their assigned roles, the guards growing more authoritarian and the prisoners more passive. Thus, the stage was set for one of the most infamous experiments in the history of psychology. As the experiment began, a chilling transformation took place. The participants, each assigned a role as a guard or prisoner, began to adapt to their new identities. What started as a simple role-play rapidly evolved into a disturbing reality. The guards, initially uneasy with their authoritative roles, gradually embraced their positions of power. They started to exhibit an increasing degree of aggression and dominance. The uniforms they wore, the mirrored sunglasses that hid their eyes, the batons they carried, all became symbols of their authority. The guards' behavior escalated from giving petty orders to implementing psychological torture. They subjected the prisoners to severe humiliation, forced them to perform degrading tasks, and even orchestrated simulated physical confrontations. The prisoners, on the other hand, responded to this brutality in various ways. Some of them complied, succumbing to the guards' authority and accepting their prisoner status. They obeyed orders, no matter how humiliating, in a desperate attempt to avoid punishment. Others resisted, attempting to rebel against the harsh conditions and the guards' tyranny. They staged protests, went on hunger strikes, and even planned escapes. But such acts of defiance were met with severe punishments, further amplifying the guards' brutality. As the days passed, the line between the experiment and reality began to blur. The guards lost themselves in their roles, forgetting that they were merely participants in a study. They felt invincible, convinced that they were immune to any consequences of their actions. Meanwhile, the prisoners began to internalize their roles as well. They started to see themselves as actual inmates, helpless against the oppressive regime of the guards. The psychological toll of the experiment was evident in their deteriorating mental health, with some prisoners exhibiting signs of severe emotional distress and trauma. Unexpected developments further escalated the situation. One prisoner had to be released early due to extreme emotional distress, while another went on a hunger strike. The guards responded by implementing even harsher measures, such as solitary confinement and sleep deprivation. The experiment, initially planned to last 2 weeks, was spiraling out of control. The Stanford prison experiment was designed to explore the psychological effects of perceived power and the dynamics between prisoners and prison officers. However, it ended up showcasing the darkest depths of human nature, revealing how quickly people can adapt to and internalize assigned roles, even when they involve degrading and inhumane behavior. The experiment was spiraling out of control, blurring the line between reality and simulation. It was becoming increasingly clear that what was unfolding was more than an academic exercise. It was a stark, horrifying glimpse into the human capacity for cruelty when given unchecked power and authority. Scheduled to last 2 weeks, the Stanford prison experiment had to be terminated after just 6 days. Indeed, the experiment's abrupt end was as dramatic as its conception. What was intended as a study of human behavior under captivity quickly spiraled into a disturbing display of psychological distress and abuse of power. The participants, ordinary students, had been transformed into prisoners and guards, their roles becoming terrifyingly real. The guards exhibited sadistic tendencies, while the prisoners displayed signs of severe emotional trauma. The experiment was designed to simulate a real prison environment, but the extent of its realism was unforeseen. The participants were not merely playing their roles, they were living them. The guards' brutality and the prisoners' despair were not part of the initial plan, yet they soon became the experiment's defining elements. Dr. Philip Zimbardo, the experiment's conductor, had intended to observe the participants' behavior over a period of 2 weeks. However, the escalating severity of the situation forced him to reevaluate. The distress signals from the prisoners and the increasing cruelty of the guards painted a picture too grim to ignore. On the 6th day, the decision was made. The experiment was to be terminated. The halls of the makeshift prison, once filled with the echoes of distress, fell eerily silent. The participants were released from their roles, but the psychological scars remained. The aftermath was a days of debriefings and psychological assessments, an attempt to understand the depth of the impact and begin the healing process. The experiment was over, but its impact was just beginning to be understood. The Stanford prison experiment had not merely exposed the darkness lurking within ordinary individuals, it had unleashed it. It had shown how easily lines can blur between simulation and reality, between observer and participant, between good and evil. And in doing so, it had triggered a dialogue on ethics and psychology that continues to this day. The Stanford prison experiment left a lasting mark on psychology, raising disturbing questions about human nature. Its key findings were a testament to the inherent malleability of human character under the influence of situational forces. The participants, all of whom were ostensibly normal individuals, exhibited brutal and sadistic behavior or showed signs of extreme stress and submissive obedience, all within a few days. This transformation was nothing short of chilling. The experiment laid bare the profound impact of roles, rules, symbols, and group identities in human behavior. It showed how quickly and dramatically people can become engrossed in their roles, leading them to behave in ways that they would not typically consider. It also underscored the power of situations in shaping our behavior, often to a greater extent than our inherent personality traits. However, the implications of the experiment extended far beyond the realm of psychology. It provided a stark reminder of the potential for the abuse of power in any hierarchical system, whether it be a prison, a corporation, or a government. It highlighted the danger of dehumanization and the risks associated with unchecked authority. Yet, the Stanford prison experiment wasn't without its ethical concerns. The conditions the participants were subjected to were harsh and disturbing, raising questions about the extent to which such research should be permitted. It brought to light the need for stringent ethical guidelines in psychological research to protect participants from harm. The experiment also triggered a significant debate about the validity of its findings. Critics argued that the participants may have been playing to the expectations of the researchers, a phenomenon known as demand characteristics. This criticism has led to a re-evaluation of the experiment's methodology and its conclusions. The Stanford prison experiment, a chilling reminder of the thin line between civility and savagery, continues to haunt the corridors of psychology to this day. As we delve into the darkness of the human mind, we are left with more questions than answers. The Stanford Prison Experiment, a grim exploration into our psyche, continues to echo in the corridors of psychology, shedding light on the disturbing capacity of an ordinary individual to commit extraordinary acts of cruelty. The experiment's chilling revelations underscore the immense influence of situational power and authority on human behavior. The Stanford Prison Experiment is a stark reminder of the power of situation and authority in shaping our actions, a lesson that remains as relevant today as it was over 5 decades ago.